MC Benny.
Come on, East Africa. It's a party.
Tell them. Afrika Mashariki. Twaja pamoja.
From country to country, yeah. We gotta work together. We are leaders now. Aiming high for the better. Together. To make our nations greater. We're sharing to empower. So you lead, I lead, we lead together. So you lead, I lead, we lead together. We will lead, we will lead. Let your dream be a reality. We will lead, we will lead. Let your dream be a reality.
Together we'll shape with responsibility as young people. With ability, here we are to take the opportunity to raise the flag of East Africa. Together with love, together with peace, together respond to our need. Together transform our community as we see light and a bright future. Let's join hands for youth and women. Let's join hands for youth and women.
Afrika Mashariki yote twaungana, vijana vijana kutoka Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Burundi hadi South Sudan na Rwanda. Twaja pamoja ili fanye nini?
YouLead.
Vijana wote.
I lead, we lead together. So you lead, I lead, we lead together. We will lead, we will lead. Let your dream be a reality. We will lead, we will lead. Let your dream be a reality.
Hello, Africa. Welcome, Karibu to Unplugged. We are very excited to have you joining us. Welcome. My name is Fiona Kemigisha. Everyone just calls me Kemi. I am your host on Unplugged every single Thursday. I'm going to get into a little bit of your chats as well. Oh, I'm glad to see you guys are letting us know where you're from. Please leave a comment and tell us your name, where you're from, what you do. It's such a great little space to network and for us to know where you guys are coming from and what you're doing. We really like to know that stuff because then we can, and that's the point of this whole thing, right? So welcome. Our guests are already here with us. I'm very much looking forward to beginning the conversation. Let me just shout out some of the people in the comments. Lefense from Botswana. Actually, forgive me if I've said your name wrongly, Lefense. Welcome. Emidius from Tanzania at Iringa University. Welcome. Stephen Gachucha from Kiambu, Kenya. Welcome, guys. Welcome. We are going to jump right in. So our guests are David and Mwila, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I want to let them tell us a little bit about themselves and what they do. So let's start with you, Mwila. Go ahead.
Hey guys, how you doing? First and foremost, thank you so much, Fiona, for having us. I'm really excited to be here. Am I audible enough?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi guys. So to everybody who's watching us and listening to us, thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this platform. I think it's such sessions that consistently help us to become more patriotic and to desire to give back to our continent. My name is Mwila Bwanga. I am a Zambian youth. I am currently the Zambian youth that is representing all youth in Zambia in the Comesa region. I am also representing Zambian youth in the Commonwealth. I'm an executive director of my own organization called Be Relevant that seeks to provide Zambian youth and African youth a platform through which they can become, patriotic citizens of Africa. And currently I'm working with an organization based in Dar es Salaam, Africa Philanthropy Network. The whole focus of our organization is to champion African philanthropy for social change. Apart from that, I've been awarded Governance Accomplishment Awards by my government. I'm a consistent governance expert on various issues within my country and outside of my country. But above and beyond, I'm an African youth that desires to give back to my continent and desires to inspire many other young people to become more relevant agents of change in our continent. So to Fiona and the rest of the team at YouLead, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mwila, for that great introduction. I don't know if the rest of you are impressed because wow, way to go doing your thing. We love to see youth just taking up space in everything, taking up space in all these relevant areas. David, please go ahead, introduce yourself to our audience. You're on mute, David. We can't hear you.
Thank you very much, Fiona.
Thank you. My name is Mande David.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm talking about David Ntambiye, our guest. Sorry, I think there was another David.
I hope I'm audible enough now. Are you able to get me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hey, Fiona, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to meet these comrades here. I go by the names of Ntambiye David. I am actually from Rwanda. I'm currently the executive director of Aspire Debate Rwanda. I have also worked with youth for since 2012. I've indulged myself into debate activities, represented Rwanda into Commonwealth, international task force that was organized in Commonwealth the previous year. So we were actually pushed off, and there's a new task force formed to push the agenda of the Commonwealth that has been postponed to further notice. Yeah, I met Mwila in the Komesa Youth Leaders Bootcamp. He's a colleague. I've also been a founder of East African University Debate Council in conjunction with a number of colleagues from Uganda, Jacob Eyeru and Dominic from Tanzania. I'm also a businessman, so I'm happy to join you. And it's always my pleasure to join my fellow youth to talk about the issues that matter to us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, David, and welcome to our platform. Incidentally, I didn't even know that you and Mwila knew each other by the time I was setting up and inviting you. So birds of a feather, we really flock together, clearly. So let's get into our discussion. Let me say hi to some of our guests, though. Thank you, Stephen. He says that YouLead is the best platform for youth to share their ideas. Thank you so much. Hi, Jamal. I don't want to murder this name, but this is just from DRC. Welcome. Wandera from Uganda, Chema from Tanzania. Welcome, guys. All right, so today we are talking about governance. Okay, we're talking about youth in leadership and how they can find the right mentorship. How do we guide young people to be able to get into these decision-making spaces, to be able to have voices, voices that actually can impact in places that have places of power. Okay, so I'm going to first go in the direction of politics. Okay, and Mwila, I know that you've actually very recently, run for public office. So I feel like one of the things that we hear a lot from young people who are interested in politics is, campaigning. Okay, it's this broad, scary thing, and the question is, how do you get to a point where you can campaign? Okay, just the financial aspect alone is scary. Finding a team, how do you campaign, shall we say, on a budget? The assumption is that most of us don't have the resources to do this type of thing. So what would you say, how do you campaign on a budget? Is it even possible? Go ahead, Mwila.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so to our viewers, just as Fiona has said, I recently contested in we just recently came, from a very tense election in Zambia, where we saw the opposition taking the day, democracy spoke, And I think that as Zambia, we really showed, an example given as regards how democracy ought to be, to take place, as regards transitioning of power and all that. So I was the youngest contestant candidate, not only in my constituency, but on the Copperbelt province, so Zambia has 10 provinces and we have Copperbelt province, where the whole entire, mining industries are often set up. So I ran for office as member of parliament. And I did not run on a political party ticket, but I ran as an independent candidate. And truthfully speaking, the reason why I contested as an independent candidate is that, in Africa, we have not reached a point where we appreciate young leadership as much. We have not yet reached a point where we see the need of incorporating young leaders in various governance spaces. We see young people normally as vuvuzelas, people to make noise on behalf of politicians. We normally see, young people as people that should be throwing stones on behalf of political parties. We normally see young people as people that should only be chanting slogans of political parties. But whenever it comes to having young people at the table of decision making, many African governments and many African political parties have not yet reached that point. I'm really glad and excited that Namibia is actually taking the lead as regards including young people in some of these governance spaces. So when I decided to run for office, I didn't just wake up in the morning and say, hey, I think I should run for member of parliament. And I think that's the first thing that I want to encourage the young people that we have on this platform. Being prepared and knowing what you want is very important, because we have so many young people that are very optimistic. We have so many young people that are very resilient. We have so many young people that are very energetic. We have so many young people that are very charismatic, but the need to prepare ourselves to do that which we ought to do, we lack as young people. So for me, I knew that we had 2026 coming up, and I graduated from university, I think at about 2016, somewhere there. I have a bachelor's degree in politics and international relations. Before I was actually graduating, I knew to say I want to contest for public office in 2021. So I had to make sure that I organize myself, I consolidate my potential, and I have a relative budget that is going to work in accordance the kind of election that I actually want to see for myself. So I had to meet various partners, various donors, various players who I feel they coincide with that which I stand for. And the other issue that has really supported me and worked well for me when I ran for office is that I've worked well in ensuring that I strengthen my personal brand. In other ways, I had to make sure that I strengthen my brand beyond politics. So to a point where it becomes easier for people to commit their finances in my campaign. And that is something that I want to inspire many young people that are listening to us right now. They need to cement your own individual brand. They need to strengthen your personal brand to a point where with or without a political party, you still have the grip to command influence. So as regards working within a budget, I believe for me it was easy because I was prepared and because I had a very strong personal brand that attracted various donors and partners to actually invest in my campaign.
You've touched some really important things here. Personal brand is definitely something I feel cuts across for a lot of us, even outside politics, even just personally, I work in the digital space, and building a personal brand has been so vital because that is what helps people follow you wherever you go. People will be like, I know what she does. I know what that person does. I'm going to go over there because I trust what you're doing. I trust your vision. I trust even how you implement it. So personal brand definitely something that registers for me. And I feel like a lot of people hear that as well. So let me go a little bit to David. I know, David, that the work you do is very much focused on providing mentorship, providing guidance to young people who want to lead, right? And I feel like mentorship is one of those things, and at least for me, it took me a while to understand, why do I need a mentor? Yeah, you genuinely know, okay, yeah, I need general guidance, but why do you need a mentor? Why do you need that type of arrangement with someone, okay, or with some people that you feel are going to lead you in a certain direction? Why is that something that's so important for young leaders? Go ahead,
Thank
David.
you very much, Fiona. I think I'm still audible enough.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. The work I do with Aspire Debate Rwanda, normally we do mentorship to young leaders because we believe the Africa we want, the Rwanda we want, the Zambia or the Uganda you want, I think it is going to be shaped by the young generation. And that is me and those below me or those in my agement, like the likes of Mwila. And so we believe it's the right time for us to, get engaged and to get to know what is happening around the globe, around our nation, around the continent. And that's what Aspire Debate Rwanda does mostly, to open up spaces, to give platform to young people to discover and share their voices. And so, of course, it is very paramount that most of the times, as the mentors, we normally ask ourselves, what kind of conversation do we have with mentees? It is very, very critical. And it is of great value that we, the young leaders, those who are aspiring to be young leaders, we actually get people, we get our role models and sit with them to sharpen our visions. Because majority of us have purpose, we have visions, but we need the role models to sharpen them. And that's what Aspire Debate Rwanda comes to do. And that's what I do most of the time. If there are people with innovative ideas, with brilliant ideas, they are youth. But how much do we give time to their ideas? That's the question. The Africa we want, the Agenda 2063 that we talk about, I think majority of us will be around 70. And so we need to listen to those of 15 now. What aspirations are they having in conjunction with the aspirations that are set in Agenda 2063? And when you look at the world they want, it's quite different from the world that is designed for Agenda 2063. And so we need to incorporate that and also accept that these people have brilliant ideas, and these ideas need to be nurtured, they need to be shaped, they need to be put at the right scale and at the right direction. And that's why basically mentorship comes in. It is an opportunity for you to get a credit of what you're looking for. And so sharing experience with someone who has passed through what you're passing through becomes a good benchmark for your growth. And so that's why we probably need mentors, to sharpen our path, to give us experience, whatever they have passed through. And we also need to grab this mic. The mic should not be held by the elderly, but should also be given to us. So how much do we give space to these young people to prove to us they're actually very competent and they're capable? And this is what Aspire tries to put in place. Can we create an enabling spaces for people to voice out, for people to share ideas, for people, because these young people are very resourceful. But how much do we listen to them? And even when we listen to them, what kind of feedback are we giving them as mentors? This is what Aspire Debate Rwanda does, to give this kind of space. And we acknowledge that the ideas are very variable, they're actually variable, and we second them where need be. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I like you kept using the term sharpen, and I think that's definitely a very vital thing for mentorship, because you come in with so many things, right? You're young, you're excited, and you come in with so many things, and it's wonderful. And what a mentor does is essentially help you take those things and sharpen them. If it's a general idea, how do we make it more specific so that it will have more impact? And yeah, I definitely understand that. And you guys can feel free to tell us in the comments as well how mentorship has impacted your own leadership journey, or even just your career journey, even if you're not necessarily in leadership, why that type of guidance is so important. Let me say hi to some of the people online. We don't want you guys to think we don't see you. Okay, at YouLead, we leave no one behind. Hi, Emmanuel, reside in Kigali, Rwanda. Welcome. Ahmed from Zanzibar, Stephanie from Zambia. Let's see, David from Uganda. Welcome. Bibian from South Sudan. Sharon from Kenya. Wow, I see a lot of you here. Zimbabwe is represented. Thank you so much, guys. Welcome. Let's see. Let me just says, thank you a lot. I have experience in political campaigning because I was the youngest candidate in my country history for governor office of South Kivu province in 2017 at 29 years old. After that, in 2018, I was a candidate national MP of the now ruling party. Okay, wow, we are very privileged to have some young leaders in here. It is not an easy game, but I think that young people should enjoy this ground. I think that's what you were saying. Thank you for that encouragement. It's definitely not easy. I'm sure even our guests are going to share that with us, that the path is not smooth. I'm going to get a little bit into your comments again after a few minutes, but it's almost 7:20, and usually at this point, we want to have a little bit of trivia, okay? This is the super chill part of our session, and yeah, so I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and if you know the answer, everybody, whether you are one of our guests or the attendees, feel free to just raise your hand and you can give us the answer. These are very random questions. We select them like, you know, very general. So get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. Okay, now question one is, this person, okay, I'm asking about a person, okay? This person is Africa's longest serving president, still in power after 41 years. Who is he? Do I see any hands? I see Onyeka. Go ahead, Onyeka.
Okay, I think it's Paul Biya of Cameroon.
I beg your pardon?
Paul Biya of Cameroon.
Unfortunately, no, that's not the right one.
I think he's the president of Equatorial Guinea, Mr. Bwanga.
Ah, yes. I can't actually tell who said that, but yes, Equatorial Guinea, that's correct. I'm sorry, who said that? I didn't get the person that said that. So I can just say thank you. Well, thank you, you are correct. Equatorial Guinea's Teodoro Obiang Nguema is the longest serving president at the moment on the continent. Okay, so again, just let me know in the comments who got the answer, because I didn't see who said it. It kind of passed by really quickly, just so we can shout you out. Okay, I can shout you out for being correct. All right, the second question is, this is a little bit of geography, okay? So my geography people, prepare. After the secession of South Sudan from Sudan in 2011, this became the largest country in Africa by area. Who knows this one? Who knows this one? Emidias, go ahead. Emidias. Okay, I'm not hearing from Emidias. Emmanuel Taylor, go ahead.
Yes, so my answer is Algeria.
Yes. Oh, very good. Well done, Emmanuel. Thank you. It is Algeria, and I will be the first to admit that I did not know this until I was actually researching it. I did not know. Is there anybody else that didn't know? You kind of assume that you would know it, but then when I saw it was Algeria, I actually got surprised. So yes, that is the largest country geographically in Africa. So I think, so now we get a little smarter together. We learn every week. Okay, this next question is on the Olympics. So if you've been paying close attention, very, very close attention, because this is quite specific, you might know this. So first of all, did you guys know that the youngest Paralympian in this year's Paralympics is African? Did you know that? I did not know. I learned that today. Now, who is she? That is the hint. She is a lady. Oh, there's another hint that it starts with H. Who knows this one? I see a hand up. I don't know if Dennis, is your hand up? Okay, I see Dennis's hand is up, so you can go ahead, Dennis. I also see Emmanuel. Your hand is up. I don't know if that's from before. Does anybody know the answer to this? The youngest Paralympian in this year. It's a tight one, huh? Okay, this one is a hard paper. I'm about to just allow and give you guys the answer because even I did not know this. Anybody? Do you maybe know at least the country she comes from? It's in East Africa.
She's from Uganda.
Yeah.
She's from Uganda.
Yes, she is from Uganda. Well done, David. Does anybody by any chance know her name? Does any, I see someone has given us the answer in the comments. Ogenyi Morris, thank you.
I thought speakers are not supposed to answer, but I felt I should do that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I see Morris got the answer. Husna kukunda kwe. Okay, she didn't get the spelling, but you were close enough. Husna kukunda kwe, 14 years old, youngest Paralympian. The youngest Paralympian this year. Kindly mute your. Okay, thank you. All right, so that is it for our trivia question. I hope you have learned something. Actually, you guys, by the time this year ends, I'm going to be a trivia goddess because I'm really, every week, I'm learning something new. I hope you guys also, catching those tidbits every other week. I do see a lot of comments, so let me just try and talk to everybody. Let's see. Emidius was saying that he agrees with David. Leaders Ramadhani says leaders are created. That is why we need the mentorship. Okay, sorry, I think there's a bit of an error there, so I can't quite get what the sentence was saying, but feel free to send it again. Just says after more than 60 years of independence, African countries are still suffering from selfish leaders and dictatorships. How this great initiative, how can this great initiative by Zambia be made possible for all of the continent? I hope I've understood your question. Feel free to type it again just in case, because we do want to answer your questions accurately. All right, let's go ahead. So someone was asking, I'm trying to just, I hope I've understood what she was trying to ask, and I think it's directed at Mwila about politics. And I feel like it's a bit of a tall order because obviously Mwila is one person, he's not the entire country. But I feel like you being a governance expert as well, you might have a little insight on what it is that Zambia is doing right. Okay, because there's so many African countries, my own inclusive, that are, that have struggled with transitions of power. So, maybe you can tell us a little bit. I'm sure you have your thoughts on the subject, so I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I think even for Zambia, it hasn't been easy. I think for this country, one of the things that I really appreciate about us is that when Zambian people wish to rise up, they definitely rise up and they demand for their space. So I think it's the same thing that we're actually noticing in our country, where we have so many young people demanding for their space. And, we have, a movement in our country where young people are fed up of just being voters, consistently being praised of coming out to vote. They're saying, hey, we don't only want to consistently make political leaders, attend members of becoming MPs, becoming councillors, becoming presidents. As young people, we also want to have that space for ourselves. So I think for Zambia, what has really helped is that, I think Zambia is a country where when Zambians become fed up, I think they really rise up in numbers in order for them to see how best they can challenge the status quo. Because I think it starts all the way back from 1991, when they got fed up with the regime of, our founding president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who was an amazing leader. But, when you stay in a particular position for a very long time, even when you're really good, people become fed up in one way or the other. So, we saw democratic movements start rising up. That's where we saw the MMD coming in. 1991, we saw President KK losing to President Chiluba, and President KK, graciously and democratically passing on power to President the late President Chiluba. And then fast forward, to 2011, when the MMD ruled us for 20 years. not 20 years, one president. With the MMD, we had President Mwanawasa, President Chuluba, who ruled us for 10 years. Then we had President Mwanawaza, who ruled us for another 7 years. Then we had President Rupia Banda, who ruled us for another 3 years. This is one political party. In 2011, when people again got fed up with one political party, they rose up in numbers and voted in the Patriotic Front, who then ruled us for another 10 years. Again, Zambian people felt like they, have been fed up with the party that was there. They now turned out in large numbers than ever before to vote in the UPND political party. So I think Zambians, I think we're people who know how to organize ourselves in order to command our space and to tell the politicians exactly that you don't run this show. We give you these positions.
Okay, that's a powerful statement. What I'm hearing is you keep going, right? You keep going regardless. You keep demanding for that which you feel is is owed to you as a people, as a country. So let me just going back a little bit to mentorship specifically. I was wondering, can you tell us a little bit about your experience, Mwila, campaigning for public office? And it's it's something that I know a lot of young people would like to dip their toes into, but they're afraid. You get scared. You wonder, will I? Shall I? How shall I manage? So I know you talked a lot about planning, about just like planning, but is there something in addition to planning, something specific that you would advise the young person who feels like that's where I want to go, and I mean specifically just as even a way when it comes to appreciating the experience, because I do think that sometimes these things look very glossy on the outside. Yeah. I know that the actual thing must be quite different. I'm sure there are challenges that we cannot imagine being on the outside. So what would you say to that person as far as the experience, as far as, getting there? What does that look like?
I'll be frank and honest. Sometimes we demand for these spaces, not knowing the process that you have to go through when demanding for some of these spaces. It's not easy, I'll be frank. It's not a smooth sailing, it's not a smooth ride. I'm sure with my colleague who is in the chat box right now, who said he ran for office one of these fine years, he can attest to that. It's not an easy road. That's why, we hear so many statements when people say to be a politician, you need to have thick skin. And truthfully speaking, that's true. The criticism that comes in, that is baseless criticism. There are moments when I don't even read my own comments because just for my own mental health. So, there's all that comes in. However, I think for the purpose of mentorship as regards going into the field of governance, one of the things I would like to say, I'd like to give three pillars, of relevant governance leaders, 3 pillars. And the first pillar that I want to talk about is that it's important for young people to stay aware, to be aware and to stay aware of what is happening within their space. Because it's one thing for you to wake up in the morning and say you want to be in the governance space, but the question you should be asking yourself is how much information have I generated as regards that which I want to influence in the governance space? How much information do I have as regards being a relevant person within this governance space, being a political leader, being a civic leader, being whatsoever it is you want to be as regards, demanding your space in the governance role? You need to stay aware and you need to be aware. What is happening in the field of health as regards governance? What is happening as regards gender-related issues? What is happening as regards climate change? What is happening as regards, providing, free space of participation for young people? What is happening, in all these other areas? Because governance is just not about politics. It's, governance is broad. You need to have an understanding of so many other areas that are happening within your space. Now, being aware is very important because I'll take you back when our forefathers, they decided to actually liberate our countries. When President Nyerere said, I want to work hard for the people of Tanzania, he was aware of what was happening in his country. There was colonialism at stake. There's colonialism at stake. We don't have adequate allocation of resources. Our people don't have the right space through which they can freely express themselves. So Nyerere rises up and he chooses to do something about it. When we go to Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah had to be aware. He had to stay aware of what was happening in his country. Patrice Lumumba had to be aware. He had to stay aware of what was happening in the Congo. Simon Masakapwepo and Kenneth Kaunda, they had to be aware of what was happening in Zambia. Nelson Mandela had to be aware of what was happening in South Africa, and I can go on and on. They had to be aware. My fellow young people, are you aware of what is happening in your country? Now, being aware is one thing. A person can be aware and choose not to do anything about it. During the 1960s, before Africa got its independence, many Africans were aware of what was happening, but only a few selected young people had to rise up to defeat the status quo. So being aware is one thing, but the next pillar, which is patriotism, you need to be patriotic. When you're aware, become patriotic. You need to be patriotic as regards addressing that which you think you ought to address. When you notice that there's uneven allocation of resources, you are aware of that. Be patriotic to see how best you can address that particular issue. I don't like the fact that many young people, they want to be compensated when platforms are provided for them to become relevant. They come to a conference, they come to a workshop, and they ask for transport refund. They ask for money, they ask for what? We need to be patriotic as regards addressing certain issues that are affecting our country and affecting our communities and our continent as well. The last stage in our pillar is to define your area of relevance as a young person. The moment you define your area of relevance, it becomes easier for you to allocate your energy, your resources, and your resilience as regards contributing to our continent. When you become aware, you become patriotic. The very moment you become patriotic, define your area of relevance. What area are you going to define? What area are you going to dominate? Is it climate change? Is it gender-based issues? Is it governance matters? Is it health? Is it whatsoever? Is it trade? Define your area of relevance so that at the end of the day, it becomes easier for you to know what it is you actually want to address. In conclusion, I think as I end on this submission is, for me, I'm aware. I'm aware about young people don't have spaces as regards governance. And I'm patriotic in addressing that issue by establishing an organization, by running for office, challenging policy formulation, and the list goes on. I have defined my relevance by telling myself I'm a governance expert. I'll get my education will be in governance. I'll do this in governance, and everything will border around governance. So to my fellow young people out there, be aware, be patriotic, define your area of relevance.
Okay, I hope you guys are taking notes. I know I am, because listen, it's a progression. It's a progression. You do need to be aware first of all things before you can zero in on something specific. Now, on that subject, I see Salat is agreeing and saying that what we need is meaningful youth engagement, and we cannot engage meaningfully without that specifying that Mwila was talking about, without defining your area of relevance. Now, let me switch back to David. And I mean, so many young people want to get into these spaces and contribute meaningfully. I think that one of the challenges is that people are getting into these spaces of leadership with the wrong, probably with the right intentions. Let's say, a lot of people are coming in with the right mindset, but then getting there and, it becomes more about authority than it is about service. And I want to hear what you think, what you believe, what are your values as far as service-based leadership? Because I feel strongly that's something that we lack, leaders who are willing to serve. We have way too many leaders who are more interested in being the boss, okay, and way too few that are interested in being, being servants to the people. So just tell us, what are your views on just service, integrity, those important things that our leaders really must have? Go ahead, David.
Thank you very much, Fiona. I think, allow me to first shed light on this. Some of the challenges that I've actually faced as we try to mentor these young people or our colleagues. Majority of us, we are so ambitious, and we feel like we want to be like those who have accumulated the experience and those who have been in leadership, those who have acquired things 20 years ago, and as soon as you jump on the table, you also want to be like them. That has been a challenge. You find some of us, we are vision driven, but once we get the right platform, we actually misuse it. And so sticking to our cause, some of us has been, it has been a challenge in a way that you see your friend driving, when you become an MP, you are automatically given, a ride or a car and sort of. And so you are driven by the benefits that come along with the position, but you're not driven by your vision that you had at the beginning. We have seen a number of people across our continent, they are so eager, so vibrant. And at the beginning, you see the integrity and the fairness in what they're trying to advocate for. But by the time they acquire position, trust me, the coin flips and you see a different person from the one you're seeing yesterday. And so that's one of the challenges. And servant leadership puts all that aside. And you need to keep that integrity that you brought on the table while you're campaigning. You need to be transparent enough, of which some of us, we tend to, but when we get there, it is changed. So I think one of the things which we are trying to practice and we're trying to impart in young people, our fellow colleagues, is how do we become responsible? So becoming responsible goes hand in hand with the patriotism that my colleague was talking about. But at the same time, you've also got to keep the integrity bit of it. And so majority of us lack responsibility when we get there. We are only driven by, yes, the vision to want to get there, but we don't hold responsibility when we get there. And holding responsibility goes hand in hand with integrity. Like I told you, if you had promised people that I will advocate this and I'll share the ideas seconded by my fellow youth, that's what you should do as soon as you acquire that position. But it is funny enough that when we get that position, we tend to slip off. We are sort of swallowed by the big egos. They tell you this is how things are done. If you don't do it this way, then you're actually going to miss your salary. And we are now coined, and we only think about enjoying the salary, enjoying the benefit that come along with the position you have acquired, and we forget that we are the leaders who are supposed to be driven by the service that we are offering to our people. So I think part of my experience, if I share my experience, a majority of people ask me, I've volunteered for almost now 10 years, and people ask me, how do I get that energy and vigor to keep in volunteerism for all that time? And I never get off the hook. I think, first of all, it is very paramount that you define yourself and you define what you want, like my colleague said. What exactly do you want, and what are your core values? So if my core values is to stick to what I've decided to do, then I should stick on that. I believe keeping yourself to integrity value is the best thing you could go with. Majority of us talk about professionalism, but it is also sometimes misinterpreted and misdefined. Someone comes in front of you, you should keep professionalism. But when you see what they're doing and the definition of professionalism, it is quite different. But if we could adhere to the right value of professionalism, then we should also carry it along our leadership model. If I have promised that I will do this for you, then I should do it. If I fail, then I should not, give an excuse, because failure is there, and we should also acknowledge that failure is a stepping stone to learning and success. But some of us, we promise things and we do not deliver. And servant leadership serves on a promise best. So what I've promised, I should push it. If I fail, it is not, it's not end of the world. Mistakes are there and I should commit them. Anyway, if you never do something, you never commit mistakes. So failure comes along with those who try. So try it, but try it in a manner that it is fair to the people you are leading. It is fair to where you are heading. It is, sort of open and keep focused to where you want to go. So keeping focus is very paramount as you're doing servant leadership. And that's what I encourage young people to do. If you feel this is what you want to go for it, but don't change after, getting what you have been eyeing for. Yeah. And again, let us also not put ourselves in positions before we reach there. It is very paramount. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, David. I like that you talked about both sides. You talked about serving, but you also, I think you reminded us of something important, that even the leaders that want to serve make mistakes, so that there will be shortcomings. And, as people, sometimes I think we forget to extend some form of grace to these human beings who are also trying. Yeah, but yeah, I definitely, I can imagine that a lot of us stand behind that. Let me just read some of your comments. Julius says that we need to be creative leaders. We have to know the problems that our communities face and the communities that we are going to lead, and find possible solutions that will be useful, and change the mentality and start engaging in leadership opportunities and stop blaming as others did. I think what stands out there is definitely, I think that last part about, we spend a lot of time sometimes, blaming, apportioning blame to this person and that person, but what are we doing? What are we doing to change the narrative, to make things different? Okay. And let's see, Emidia says, why do you think so many younger people take time to involve themselves in leadership? It is because African countries do not give them the opportunity. All right. I think their challenge is that so many young people fear to take responsibilities, but even our nations do not create a platform that could encourage majority of the youth to become leaders. Okay, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a point, and I feel like we've touched on that as well, that some of the opportunities are there, but we are also scared. But in the same, in the same breath, there are also a lot of spaces where people are not moving. Okay, let's be honest. There are a lot of spaces that are simply not opening up for young people, which takes us back to what Mwila was saying about demanding to take up these spaces. And we can't just talk about it. We have to step into these things. Okay, so I am going to we do have a little bit of time, so I'll just give like 2 people a chance to say something, because I see a couple of hands up. We may not be able to hear everybody, but we will try. I see Geoffrey. Geoffrey, I see your hand has been up for a while. Would you like to say something in just a minute?
Thank you so much. Good evening.
Good evening.
It is my joy and a pleasure indeed, prosperous indeed, to join this useful meeting. My name is Geoffrey Julius from Arusha, Tanzania. I want to address a few insights regarding the agenda that have been addressed today. But I wanted to talk about the leadership in terms of influencing on how we young change makers, how we have been trained to think globally, but also to think the striving that we have been taken to prepare the young people, the young people who has a passionate on the way of creating the future for the aiming of bringing huge challenges in Africa. That of course we have this campaign, Making Africa Want. But I always say that we cannot make Africa we want if we don't have leaders, these young people, the coming leaders who are trying to see that, okay, indeed they can transform the world, they can transform their nations, but they do not have a clear grooming on how they can become good leaders. And that's the most important thing. That is the key challenge that we have in Africa. We have a lot of young people who are talkative, but not risk takers. And when we talk about a risk taker, I mean, to become a risk taker, you need to know why you are trying to sacrifice yourself, try to transform young people's mindset from poverty to economic prosperity. You know, we are trying to strive ourselves on how we can, I mean, we are talking capacity building training. Young people should be groomed on how to become a good leaders. Of course, we have seen that Africa, we are getting a lot of distractions, but this is because we lost leaders who have integrity, leaders who do not have a heart of understanding, leaders who do not have a good communication skills. They cannot be able to wear the citizens' shoes. You know, they can't be able to understand the needs of young people, the needs of the communities. You see, if we are coming leaders to take over the chairs, the positions, we need to turn up around on how we have been groomed well, that these forums helped us, helping us so much, enough to become a good, competent leaders. You see, we have been engaging, evolving on this community, on these forums, but, you know, try to lay some agendas, but these agendas that does not, no huge implementations, We have policy makers, but these policy makers, they are not implementers. They write their papers, and now they push it out. They push it out to young people and telling young people, hey, go to the entrepreneurship, do this, do that. But they're no fund support, no economic empowerment. You know, that's the most important thing we need to discuss right here on how we can try to come up with a strong agenda. If we are pushing, putting them back, do we have enough budget to run our initiatives? Who are going to support, to fund, to support our initiatives, our inner desires? Okay, we have this, we have that, but we always depend European people to support to support these initiatives. And remember, this initiative we are doing, we are working always, is not our inner desire. It's coming from global. You know, people are bringing in the agenda, and now they put money on the table. Okay, we have this, we have this. We need young people who can implement. We need young people who can put for. Pushing this agenda, but we forget our AU 2060 agenda. We have AU 2060 agenda on the table. There's no discussing on this agenda. You know, we put aside. But if we need to see Africa we want, we have to identify young people who have taken risks to transform to transform their communities, to take risks on how they can change their mindset. You know, we have this body norms, culture, but on how we can make strong ideas and try to emphasize, to pioneer these programs. So I want to address these things to end up, I want to address to you all leaders in Africa, leaders from East Africa and the whole tribe and Africa tribe, that we need to make sure that we have to create leaders who have a good understanding heart, but also the leaders who have integrity, leaders who can be able to nurture their people, to groom their people. And that's where that should be a good starting point for us to see the journey we have, that okay, indeed it's going to be happen before 2063, and the global sustainable development goal is on before 2030. Thanks so much. This is Geoffrey Julius from Tanzania.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey. And you have shared with quite a bit of passion, and we like to see that. We like to see that young people are passionate about where this continent is going, where we are going as a people. You talked a lot about taking risks, and I do think that's something we've touched on quite a bit. At the end of the day, conversations are important, but our conversations do have to lead to action. You know, are we stepping forward? I'm afraid we won't be able to get to all these raised hands. I am going to have to go back to our guests as well. Mwila and David, I'm just going to give you a little, like maybe a minute each, okay? And you can just leave us with something to close, whatever message that you feel is important for all these young people who want to hear about becoming, about growing into the leaders that they hope to become. Mwila, you can go ahead. Okay, perhaps you can start with David instead.
Oh, thank you very much, Fiona and the audience. This was very good for us. I think a key message to give back to our audience: one, as youth, we should fight as much as possible to uphold whatever is being done rather than destroying it. It is so embarrassing that even what our leaders have tried to achieve, we are the people that go back and destroy it. So as we are trying to fight for spaces and creating this and trying to jump into the leadership, we should also go in a peaceful way. I think I've seen demonstrations being carried out by the youth across. We are the people that destroy the buildings that our governments have put on, and yet we are the people also to sit in these kind of buildings when we are being elected. So I think it's good that we be responsible in a way that responsibility comes with acknowledgement of anything that happens, and the best solution to any challenge is to solve it in a peaceful way. So as we are yearning to be leaders, we should be leaders in a peaceful manner, and we do things in a peaceful way. Demonstration should be done in a polite and a humble way that builds our society rather than destroying our societies. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, David. I'm going to really quickly go through this comment from Karagwa Rebecca. Thank you, everyone. As young people or youth in politics, I find that there are certain narratives we are going to have to change, especially as regards women's participation in politics. One of the speakers made mention of our founding fathers and named their contributions here and there, which I agree with. But nothing is said about the founding mothers. It is beyond true that women too played key roles in shaping our continent. As such, we cannot continue to ignore that. Young females have to hear these stories, and it is not just for female politicians to say. We both, female and male, must acknowledge and retell these stories. Thank you for that. That's definitely an important factor. I mean, we are very much behind gender equality here at YouLead, and that is something that we push for very passionately, actually. If you guys are following us on social media, you know we are starting to talk about the YouLead Summit, which we are building up to in November. Please stay on our social media platforms so that you can keep updated, so that you'll know as soon as the application processes begin and open, so that you can be a part of that. It is open to absolutely everybody, women, men, everybody, because we do want a very inclusive, we need an inclusive leadership. We need inclusive environments for everybody, for young people to thrive. So we are going to close it here. I'm afraid I can't go through absolutely everything, but thank you so much for joining us from the different places that you are. I am so sorry that we can't get into all the raised hands, but hopefully if you left your info, if there's something you'd like to communicate to us, you can email us, you can reach us on all our platforms, and we will respond. Thank you so much for joining us. I don't know if Mwila is still there. Mwila, are you there?
Yeah, I am sorry. My network behaved on me.
No worries. So we'll give you the last minute to just give us a closing remark, whatever last thing you'd like to share with, our fellow young people over here who are in the process of becoming leaders in different spaces.
Thank you so much. I won't turn on my video because network is really bad. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Let me try. Maybe it won't. Okay, let me give it a shot. Okay, so I think my closing remarks to the young people that are part of this amazing discussion is, we are commanding the largest population in Africa, guys. So hey, this is not time for us to relax. This is not time for us to sit back, and we wait other people to do things on our behalf. But I believe this is time that we started organizing ourselves. This is high time we started coordinating ourselves, and let us create networks beyond our countries. For me, I'm an ardent, advocate of going beyond Zambia. That's why I have close connections in Tanzania, in Ethiopia, in Egypt, across the region. So that's my encouragement to some of the young people that are listening to us right now. Go beyond your country, build your network, build your communication, because in one way or the other, we need each other beyond the countries you're actually coming from. So thank you so much to YouLead for inviting me on this platform. If you need me again, please feel free. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mwila. Thank you so much to our guests and to every single one of you that have come in, joined the conversation. Thank you for all your contributions. Unfortunately, our time is up. We do like to keep Unplugged short and sweet. So we can't go beyond this moment, but it is our platforms. Okay, let me just reiterate, our platforms are absolutely open. We respond to every single message, every single comment. So if you have inquiries, feel free to reach out to us there. So until next week, it's bye from us, and thank you again. Take care and have a great week. Bye.
Ivan, as the head of leadership and governance,
tumemaliza meeting.
as the YouLead program director, you are also offering leadership for this youth governance architecture study.
Kemoto, Ivona.
That is important, not just.
I like you.
Goodbye.
First of all, the
Thank you for everybody. Thank you
that exists.
Thank you for your contribution.
There's a lot
I have enjoyed the
many players are
discussion.
trying to do for the young people and with the young people, but we need to get the status of affairs
Thank you very
of
much
the young people. What do the young people want to see more in their space, and what areas do they need support more? And so this research is an effort to collect data, evidence, to inform what the young people really aspire for, and for players like government, civil society, and development partners to program on the basis of such evidence in order to be responsive to the current needs of the young people in the region.
We used the qualitative method, and the reason we did that was because we wanted youth voices to be at the forefront, but also we wanted to further interrogate the enabling environment for youth participation, not based on general assumptions, which would be presented by probably a quantitative study, but to have in-depth understanding of the factors that are affecting or enabling youth to participate in governance and leadership at the AC level.
I believe that we are still trapped into a narrative seeing young people as this homogeneous group without realizing that there is a massive difference of circumstances from 18 to 35 and then all these socioeconomic circumstances. But then when we take a step back and think of the young women, we know that patriarchy negatively affects their participation at private and public life. As such, when we want to investigate to which extent the environment is enabling youth participation, we need also to focus specifically on young women participation. Young women participation is this big, different group. Let's take, for example, young women with disabilities. Which type and form of disabilities? What type of socio-economic challenges and circumstances affect them? What's their level of education? And many other aspects from rural to urban, and also the way the digital divide affects them. Starting from this kind of analysis, we have then realized that it was extremely important not just to investigate youth participation, but even more young women participation from an inclusive perspective, which means that we have focused as well on young people with disabilities.
The research addresses the
Kemigisha,
programming needs
I want to
of
see you.
a cluster and set of players. To begin with the youth themselves. They need a space
Kemigisha?
and a process through which they can express their own needs,
Kemigisha kwa point.
aspirations, and what they want to see working on, and whoever wants to support them, where they should put the support. 2, government policymakers at all levels, from national youth councils to members of parliament that represent young people, but also policymakers in the institutions of government, such as national youth councils and ministries responsible for taking care of the needs of the young people. And lastly, the development partners who are supporting government efforts and also in some way supporting young people's efforts. They need to know through this research for the next 3-4 years, 5 years, what should we prioritize in order to be in solidarity with the young people and address their identified needs.
The opportunity that we find in the region is that there is some good level of political will, which is represented by, for instance, the appointment of youthful ministers at cabinet levels. It's represented by the existing laws and policies that enable youth to be represented at different levels. And at least at the AC level, you have the youth policy, which also gives a platform for the youth to participate in EAC integration processes. Then we also have the other opportunity of representation, which we believe can be leveraged to be able to influence policy if there is coordination between different youth groups.
Conducting such a study, which basis is indeed inclusivity, was not easy, because inevitably we know that the 6 countries of our consideration, but more generally the continent, is affected by an evident digital divide, which means that conducting and trying an outreach to the most vulnerable was not easy. We tried with the expedient of having a cross-sectoral investigation through focus group,